Hi everyone, today we are going to be looking at the Wild Rift patch notes 2.1b, and this is going to be the major patch notes change that Riot is putting out for the competitive scene. Actually really happy with a lot of the changes they've made here, so let's just get started right away. New champions, Leona. Right, first of all, I think Leona will be the best support in the game once she releases and once people get used to her playstyle. I think she undoubtedly is likely, with Alistar, the two best supports in the game. She will fit the role similar to Alistar in playing support, but I think she's extremely important. Like even though her playstyle isn't versatile, right? She doesn't have a lot of disengage. Her engage is so strong that it's just next level, right? Even compared to the likes of Alistar. So moving on to Diana, I think Diana will find her place eventually. She's sort of like Katarina, where her playstyle is sort of unique and very different from others. Right, she can fit into roles like top, mid, and jungle, which I think will be her three main roles. And I feel overall she does have a very awkward way to play, especially considering that they changed her ultimate from the League PC version. So there's still a lot of tweaking going to be being done, especially by players, regarding the builds and what to buy, how to play her, which lane and or role is most optimal. Yeah, but I think Diana will find her place eventually, and I think she'll be decent. Right, definitely not same levels of overpowered as Leona. Pantheon. So Pantheon is probably one of my favorite champions in League of Legends, not just Wild Rift. And I think this champion is extremely broken. Again, I think he will be at the same level as Leona, but probably not as OP in support. Pantheon able to play top lane, mid lane, jungle, and even support. So support Pantheon was the best role for him in League PC, but previously before they nerfed him in League PC, he could play every single role except ADC. So I really do see that this champion will be probably one of the best competitive and solo queue champions in the game. I think there's no question about it. Like this champion, it will definitely take some time for players to get used to because he does require a certain playstyle, and getting used to his mechanics and spacing to maximize the advantage of him is really, it's definitely going to be a skill requirement, right? Because you definitely can see a bad Pantheon and a good Pantheon. What are the differences? Like despite the champion not having that many skill shots, right? But he definitely is high levels of overpowered, same as Leona. So skins, Barbecue Leona, Dark Valkyrie Diana, Full Metal Pantheon, Dragon Slayer Pantheon, Inferno Diana, Project Ash Leona via Yasuo and Zed. So first thing first, I think the Diana skin is bad. Barbecue Leona is a no-go. If you are looking out for skins, you should look for Inferno Diana, Dragon Slayer Pantheon. I think Project Ash is probably the best Ash skin ever released. I think Project Z is extremely nice as well. Project Yasuo is meh. I think it's whatever. Project Vi though is really good Vi skin that we have been waiting for. Right, we've been waiting for a good Vi skin, and Project Leona is really nice as well. So those are the skins to look out for. Basically, Inferno, Diana, Dragon Slayer Pantheon, and every project skin. So let's move on to the big changes, shall we? Right, Aurelion Sol. So Center of the Universe passive star base damage 18 to 130 to 15 to 130. Celestial Expansion, his second skill, 25 to 165 to 25 to 170. Okay. Cooldown for his ult, Voice of Light, 65 to 45 to 80 to 50. Now, Aurelion Sol is a strong champion, and it's very obvious in the competitive scene when you look at the amount of bans that are placed on him and the priority that he is given. However, I think he is in a very healthy spot at the moment. I find that it's very awkward for them to be nerfing him because they did nerf him a lot of times, and the Liandry nerfs did hurt him. And a lot of people are finding counters to Aurelion Sol through other means, right? Like people are playing control mages that outrange him, or they're playing assassins that can get in his face. And these are things that Aurelion Sol cannot innately deal with his kit. It's very hard for Aurelion Sol to play against the likes of Yasuo in lane, for example. And I think nerfing him even more will just push him out of the spotlight, and rather than, you know, just bring him down a notch, it might even just completely disregard him and, you know, make him just like a tier 2 pick. So I think the nerf here, it definitely is sort of big, right? The damage here definitely does stack up on Center of Universe, because not only does this affects your wave clear, right, which Aurelion Sol needs so desperately, because Aurelion Sol without wave clear is just a different champion. So this definitely just slow down his roams a lot, which is what Aurelion is known for, right? And, you know, I think they might have looked too far into nerfing him, because I feel this is too much for a champion that relies so heavily on his passive and his second skill, right? Soraka, Astral Infusion, which is a second heal, which is a second skill, right? 80 to 170 HP to 80 to 200 HP. Equinox cooldown 22 to 16, 20 to 14 seconds. So I think Soraka is a good support, despite what many people think. I feel that she is one of the strongest range supports actually, and the fact that people don't play her is just a testament to how people view the meta in Wild Rift, right? They are not open-minded, they don't really like range supports, but obviously with the introduction of Pantheon, Leona, range supports like these will definitely be harder to come by, because now there's so much engage that can threaten, you know, all these range supports. And this buff here, it is nice, but it doesn't solve some of the key issues that Soraka does have in a laning phase, as that has a lane that short and can get punished so easily, right? Some of the problems that Soraka has, like including not being tanky enough, you know, in League you are able to take Guardian, right? You have extra maybe 100, 200 HP, which is the equivalent of Protector's Vow, right? But in this game you are gated by an item, and you don't have very good rune choice to take besides Aerie, and Aerie does not really provide much, especially when, you know, you are playing against the likes of maybe Alistar, Leona, where you want to be playing safe and you can't be walking up and landing those spells. So Tristana, giving Tristana small buff. Okay, base stats: mana per level 33 to 41, mana at level 15 762 to 874. So now rocket jump slow duration 1 to 2.5 to 1.5 to 3 seconds. Now I think Tristana is in a slightly awkward position because of how Wild Rift is being played right now. She isn't really in a position to be played as a very like primary carry, because she only comes online like 2, 3, 4 items, right? And whereas many carries in this meta, right, come online like 1 and 2 items like instantly, right? Which is one of the reasons why you see Ezreal not really being played that much, right? He is being played a little bit in competitive, but not as dominant as he was previously, right? And Tristana is facing the same issue, right? Because she is gated by gold, and champions gated by gold in a game as fast paced as this will definitely feel the effect of, you know, like just being overpowered and brute force early game. And the way that teams were running around that were doing lane swaps, which we'll talk about later more, a little more later on. But you know, it's just not a viable strategy to have Tristana. And this buff, it does help her a little bit. I don't understand why the mana buff really came into play. I'm not sure what kind of statistic they looked at for this. And the rocket jump duration, this slow is really good, especially for all-ins. But you know, rocket jump is usually the spell that you max last. This change doesn't really make that much of a difference. So I feel Tristana will still be in the same spot. Maybe slightly playable in solo queue. In competitive is you really have to draft a really good team comp for her to be placed in. Right, Yasuo. So I think Yasuo definitely right, benefited from Blade of Ruin King changes last patch. Also been showing up a lot in competitive play. Base armor 40 to 35, base health 650 to 570, dash move speed 120, 1200 plus move speed to 900 plus move speed. Now, why they are nerfing Yasuo, I'm not sure. I feel Yasuo in this game is very, very skill expression, meaning that he takes a lot of skill to play, and the reward for that is not that high, right? He's like, imagine if you played Zed, but Zed's skills wouldn't auto aim. You know, that's how it feels to play Yasuo, because aiming your skills on Yasuo is definitely the key to playing him, right? You have to aim which minion you want to use your third skill on, how you want to use your tornado, what is your combo going to be, can you use your EQ flash, are you like that level of Yasuo, you know, how is your trading like, right? And nerfing that kind of skill expression just, you know, it just brings down the level of the champion, especially when you're nerfing something like base stats, right? If you are nerfing something like cooldown, it does give more like space for opponents to play against, but if you're nerfing something like base stats, it takes away a lot from the champion, as you know, especially when it's something like very high face value, which is like HP and, you know, base armor. So I really don't like the fact that they like really hit his base stats here, and his E movement speed being nerfed. I can see why, because there's a pretty low counterplay when it comes to him trading in lane. But I feel that is the reason why you pick him. You know, that is, you pick him to counter the control mages like Oriana, Aurelion Sol, get in there and then get out very fast, win the trade in the lane phase, pressure them, and you know, that is why you pick him, right? It's not like he's this one for all overpower pick. I think if you look at the Malaysian ESL C Icon series, I think his win rate was terrible, like 30% or something. So I feel this nerf is very unwarranted. They could have possibly hit definitely somewhere else. This base stats nerf, I think the movement speed nerf might have been too big, right? This is basically a quarter of the movement speed that is being taken out here. Now Ziggs, Satchel Charge threshold 25 to 40% to 20 to 35%, Mega Infernal Bomb AoE outer radius to 4 to 5, inner radius to 2 to 2.5. Now, I feel this is a buff, right? People will say this is a change, but this is definitely a buff for Ziggs, because most of the times your Satchel Charge will overkill the tower, right? So even though you don't max it, this 5% here doesn't make that much of a difference, right? At most, it's just an auto attack off from an ally or from your passive. So I really don't think it makes a difference. If anything, this hurts shit like lane swaps and whatnot, because it is really stupid if Ziggs can just lane swap and take the tower way earlier than enemy team. So that being said, after they looked at the lane swap later on, I think this overall is a buff for Ziggs, and Ziggs does really have a very good place in the meta right now. I'm very happy with Ziggs and where he is, because even though he got hit with the Liandry nerf, he is still that prime control mage with the long range artillery that is able to provide a lot in team fights, and this is just going to allow him to be more consistent with his damage, because in a lot of times when you are using your ult, it's very hard to control, especially in a very hectic team fight, and this will just give a lot more leeway for, you know, for players to just impact the team fight a lot more. Although I feel like there really isn't a need to buff Ziggs, but I feel this is a small push that he needs to bring him into the limelight in the meta, because I think he really is a good champion that people should be thinking about and respecting more. Items. So nerfing Locket here, price 500 to 800 gold, shield amount 140 to 420. So 120 plus level times 20 to 70 to 420, 45 plus level times 25. Now, this nerf here, right, from the base shield amount and to the price going up 300 gold, I think this is huge, because every support now usually will buy Locket enchant, and this will probably regardless of the shield amount nerf, right, this will probably lead to people buying redemption instead, and which I'm very happy about, because I feel Locket is too like unskilled, and to be fair, it doesn't provide that much, right? And it gives a level of like no counterplay to the enemy team when you are trying to burst and all in, right? Especially because with the prevalence of barrier, right? So a lot of carries will have barrier, supports taking heal and Locket, and it's just too much protection, especially when you are having like a good rotation on the map and you are unable to punish the enemy besides force like two summoner spells and a shield, right? So I feel this nerf is really good. It will give a lot more versatility when it comes to picking up enchantments. I'm really happy to see this. And overall, I think this nerf was a long time coming. They should have done this way before. Right, runes. So touching Conqueror, right? AP per stack, 4 to 12 to 3 to 9. Maximum stack adaptive damage bonus, 10% on range champions to 7% on range champions. Now, this definitely does mean that range champions will see a huge drop in Conqueror like usage, because not only is this AP per stack, like it is very like adaptive per stack is very huge, right? There is 3 to 9, 4 to 12. Again, this is like 1/4 being missing, but the 3% here on range champions, like a lot of AD carries now rely on Conqueror to deal the maximum amount of damage, because there isn't the Guardian's Angel meta anymore. So AD carries do not take champion, the rune. So a lot of them rely on Conqueror to do the higher percent amount of damage, and I think this really hits the AD carry position and brings them down a notch, which I can see why. Even on majors as well, right? Champions like Orianna indirectly being hit by this, because a lot of Orianna players do take Conqueror. So I definitely feel that this rune is at the apex, because there are so little keystone runes to choose from. If there's more range, like from League PC, maybe like Dark Harvest, Hail of Blades, I can understand. There'll be a more of a hierarchy, but here it's just Conqueror, Fleet, and Aftershock, and these are your 3 main runes that anybody will take, right? Only assassins take Electrocute. So they definitely should. I think this nerf is warranted, right? This rune is definitely a bit too OP, and we will see a lot of shift in the meta, right? This also hurts Aurelion Sol a lot. We might see some champions, change to Electrocute, like probably on control mages or ARI, right? And maybe on AD carries, we might see a lot of them changing to Fleet Footwork. So I think this is good. It does open up a lot of keystone variety, and it was definitely too much percent damage on range champions, definitely, right? So systems, backdoor bonus. Now this is a irk that I've been very public about, speaking like how it definitely is a no counterplay element, right? Because when it gets really late into the game, it's really, really like stupid the fact that the most optimal way to end the game is to just run into the enemy base with 4 teleports and then just teleport down, and the enemy team has no counterplay, right? That doesn't make sense. So while I also feel like it should be a way to end the game, but it shouldn't be the most optimal strategy every single game, right? And that being the case before this patch, now decided to change 66% to 33% at 18 minutes to 66% through the whole game. So I'm really, really happy to say this, because a lot of games that can be won through backdooring should not be won, right? And the fact is that this makes it so that you still will be able to backdoor the enemy nexus, but maybe not at full HP, or maybe only if the enemy team is base racing you, right? So in that case, it does make more unique situations that isn't just condemned to, okay, both teams just take TP, whoever like TPs into the base first is gonna win. So this is really, really good change, especially for the competitive scene. Really happy to see this. Now lane swaps, seeing overwhelming lane swaps to force to run lanes in competitive play. We don't think this is intuitive or healthy play style. So honestly, the way that Riot approached this, I feel like is really their social media really showed that they had no idea how to deal with lane swaps, and it was only after a lot of backlash and a lot of public feedback, especially from other coaches or creators like myself, that gave a lot of feedback to developers about how this can be very unhealthy for the game, right? So first 3 minutes, this is before, right? 50 bonus armor magic resist, and then 3 champions 40, 4 champions 80, 5 champions 120. So after this changes, so the Baron lane turret gonna get 90, mid lane turret gonna get 90. Now interestingly enough, the dual lane outer turret gets lesser bonus armor and magic resist, and 2 champions 10 armor, 3 champions 100 armor, 4 champions 200, 5 champions 300. So what this definitely means is that obviously after 3 minutes you're still going to be able to take the tower as easily as before, but before that we'll definitely see a lot of lower, like definitely there will still be like 4-man 5-man invades, but they will come at a very high risk, and there shouldn't be that level of okay, we just swap every game, the enemy team can't do anything about it. So this is a huge change that I'm really, really, really happy about, because lane swaps, they can be meta. Like I do like them because they do introduce a level of like IQ needed to play the game, not only to use the lane swap but to play against the lane swap. But it shouldn't be a strategy that has no counterplay. It should be a strategy used as a counterplay to a certain other strategy, right? Which in that way I can see, okay, you use a lane swap to sacrifice something to circumvent this particular part of the game, right? But it shouldn't be something that has, that can't be avoided, right? So I feel this is a huge change. I know this especially for my team, because my bot lane, whenever enemy team lane swaps, they are just like moaning because it's so cringe. Like enemy team are just, they lose 2v2, so they're like, okay, we don't want to fight them 2v2 bot lane. Let's just lane swap and avoid the lane completely. Right? It's so cringe and lame, and I'm just really happy that they removed this, especially for competitive play. Small thing to note here is that lower bonus armor magic resist means that bot lane matchups will matter slightly more, because they will be able to hurt the tower a little bit more. But this 10 bonus armor magic resist will not really matter that much in in hindsight. It will just be like a placebo thing. And although it does help bot lane matchups like attack the tower a little bit more, in the first 3 minutes we usually won't see anybody really pressuring the tower, but it does help get bot lane matchups get a bit more of the chip damage. Right, chat detection, we're rolling out improved chat evaluation that is wrapping up to catch a majority of detected languages. Blah 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 blah, this is useless. Okay, so free champion rotation, right? And that's it. So overall, I'm just really happy with this patch, right? Not only about the new champions, right? I love Leona, I love Pantheon, I think Diana is really cool. All the champions that they have hit here except Aurelion Sol. I feel the Aurelion Sol change is like nerf doesn't make sense. I feel Soraka buff here doesn't make a difference. Tristana buff here doesn't make a difference. Yasuo nerf, I can see why, but it doesn't really make sense. I really love the Ziggs buff. Really love Locket nerf, Conqueror nerf, Backdoor and lane swap nerfs. Really happy. Except with the exception of those like champions, right? But other than that, I think these changes are just meta defining again. As always, Riot really delivers in Wild Rift with really good patch notes, and I'm very happy to see that they just continuously look at the community for their support and for the information that they need, right? So thank you all for watching. Leave a comment about any questions that you have, right? And I'll see you all next time.